And welcome to a vivacious Wednesday. Former Minnesota Wild coach Bruce Boudreau joins us now. Coached 43 playoff games and about a quarter of them with the Minnesota Wild, and here he is. It's all set. When this happens, Bruce, when the season ends here in a couple of days, and you know who you're going to be playing starting Saturday or Sunday, what happens next for coaches and players? And good morning. Good chatting with you.
Oh, good morning, PA. Well, it's the one thing is playoffs start pretty quick when the season ends, so it's there's not a lot to rehash. But in Minnesota's case and in Dallas's case, they could have been going over an awful lot of what's going to happen between the two of them, starting a lot before now, because they knew they were playing each other for about 2 or 3 months now. They had the good chance. So what would usually happen is you make up a playoff book and about the opposition, and you go over it in the room. Sometimes you don't want to go, and sometimes it can be fairly thick. Depends on how much detail you get to. But, I always thought that too much detail makes them think instead of react a little bit. So you wanted to give them the information. But, they've got so much video on each team that they can go through. There's going to be no surprises. If there's any surprises in any of the series, there may be. But there's going to be no surprises in Minnesota versus Dallas.
Hey, Coach, when are you on NHL Network? Because I don't want to miss it. Like what times are you on? Do you know when you're on the rest of the week or next week?
No, it's all varied. I know I'm on next Friday, Saturday, for sure. But you get your schedule, and it's usually 2 or 3 days. I've been on 2 days every week. This is my only week off, and then I'm back on again next week.
All right, paint with
appreciate it.
Paint, no problem, man. I enjoy watching you on TV and having you on the radio, and I know people like listening to you. Paint with a broad brush here. How do the Wild beat Dallas?
Well, it's, every game that has been close with these guys. So, it's a question, when every game is close, it's not what you do or what you don't do. It's getting the save at the right time can mean the difference between winning and losing. And I think the one thing that in the first round, what you normally see is you see the referees trying to say to everybody, oh, we're not going to call it any different. But so there's more penalties in the first round or more power plays than there will be in the second, third, and fourth round. So you've got to have your special teams ready to go. And I think both teams will. They've been able to study, each team. And both teams have got great power plays. So, you want to stay out of the box. But there's also and that becomes problematic because in the first round, there's usually 60% more hits generated than in the regular season. So what happens when you have more hits, there's more conflicts and usually more penalties. So, it's good. Their special teams and the goaltending is usually going to make the difference. And it has made the difference in all the games. And I think, Minnesota's got as good a power play as anybody in the league. And when their goaltenders are on, if they spell the name right on the back of the jerseys, I think the goalies will be great. And I think Minnesota's got a really good chance.
So with the Dallas Stars, what do they have or what do they do, Bruce, that absolutely should be difficult for Minnesota?
They skate as well as anybody, and that's the one thing. I was in an arena in Vegas this winter, and I watched Dallas play, and I thought, boy, the pace that they play at is incredibly fast. And Minnesota, which is fast too, but they've got some bigger, more physical guys that are older that aren't as fast as some of the Dallas guys. So, being able to contain them and playing above them is going to be really important most of the nights here. Being able to get Kaprizov loose and being able to get him some ice where he can skate is going to be really important because they're going to be picking on him and making sure that he doesn't get any free shots. So those are important things. Quinn Hughes is impossible to stop because, I mean, from the back end, it's really, you can't put a man on him, and he's so hard to check that, I mean, he's going to be to me, the difference in the series. If you can contain Quinn, and it's really hard to do, I think then Dallas has got a better shot. But if Quinn is playing up to Quinn's standards, I mean, he's going to be a difference maker.
And Bruce, you mentioned Kirill Kaprizov. So if you're Dallas, like, how do you handle Kaprizov and Boldy? I mean, do you rough them up in the corner, center of the ice? What do you do?
Yeah, sorry, I forgot to mention Boldy, but I mean, he's right up there too. They're both different players, different sizes, but I mean, with Kaprizov, every time he touches the puck, somebody's going to be on him. You can't give him any room to skate, any room to get going. I mean, because when he's skating, especially in the offensive zone, when he's circling and everything, he can make plays to the left, to the right, either way. And then if you give him an opening, he's got a dynamic shot. So, I mean, you've got to make sure that when he touches the puck, somebody is on him, and you have to finish the check against him. You cannot allow him to spin off, beat you back to the front of the net. I mean, all of these things you have to do to the great players that can score. And goals becomes obviously so important because it's usually a lower scoring game in the playoffs that to stopping Kaprizov and Boldy, who's different, a little bit bigger, more physical, can get to the net a little quicker or a little easier because of his size. And again, he too has a great shot. So those are the dynamic duo of the Wild that that Dallas is going to focus on, along with Quinn Hughes. So it's going to be a difficult task for Dallas, but they've been there 3 years in a row. They've been to the conference finals, so they know what they have to do.
Former Minnesota Wild and NHL coach Bruce Boudreau starts the 9 to noon radio show this beautiful Wednesday. And you touched on it a little bit earlier, Bruce, but heading into the postseason, is it important for coaches to make minor playing style changes into the playoffs, or does that potentially overcomplicate things and in turn can be detrimental?
It can be detrimental when you start focusing on the other team and what they do rather than what you do. The one thing I can say about that is, and I've gone it both ways. I've overthought things in the playoffs and underthought things at the same time. But I mean, when you overthink, you're thinking about watch out for Dallas doing this, watch out for Dallas doing that. I think the right way to do it is let's focus on us, what we do best. If we do what we do best all the time, we usually always win, and that's where I would look at it. If Minnesota plays the way they can play and do what they do in a close-checking, low-scoring game, they're going to have success, and that's it. If they let it get away and start freewheeling and freestyling, I think Dallas has got a much better chance to win.
Dallas centerman Wyatt Johnston, I mean, he scares me, especially in the slot on that power play. What do you think of that kid?
Well, he got 27 or 28 power play goals this year.
Gee.
So, I mean, he's pretty dynamic. He's having one of those years. He's just got a great release. And you know what? More important than that, he knows how to find the open spaces on the power play. But, I mean, so you definitely, if you're killing a penalty, you have to watch out and make sure that bumper position isn't available and you've got your sticks in the lanes all the time here. I mean, the big thing for me with Dallas is Wyatt Johnston's a great player and he scares me, but if they get Rupe Hintz back,
right,
then they've got a dynamic 1-2 combination. So I think going into Dallas in game one and taking advantage of A, Rupe not playing, and B, it's easier being the home team. There's less pressure on you. Just going out there and taking it to them in game one, I think is the key to getting the series back to your advantage.
And Heiskanen, he the blue liner, he might miss at least one game here. I mean, this is 63 points lost if he doesn't make this dance, and you know that's a legit Norris candidate right there in Miro. So for the Wild, if he and Hintz miss say a bunch of games, in this first round series. That should be a major advantage for Minnesota, right?
It's a major advantage as long as you don't think of it as, oh, we've got an advantage. Because it's amazing how if you think you've got the one up and you take your foot off the gas, how other teams can come up and bite you. And that's another good reason to start on the road if you're Minnesota, is you just come at them and not worry about who's in the lineup. If you're not sitting there going, oh, Heiskanen's out, oh, Hintz is out, oh, this guy's out. You know, you worry about what you have to do to win and play that way, and don't take your foot off the gas, and very easily can be successful, because the one thing that they've got going against them is history. It's been a while since they've been out of the first round, and I mean, I think it's one of those things that if they get out of the first round, they could go an awful long ways.
Our buddy Gabby starts 9 to noon. Former Wild coach Bruce Boudreau. Few to close here. The goalie situation here with Gustafsson. Gus Bus has allowed 25 goals the last 6 games. I mean, it's you know, I don't like to make blanket statements like this, but you almost can't give him the net game one, can you?
It's so tough unless I'm there, unless I'm being able to read. Like, I mean, the last 6 games he's played really haven't meant much. So is his mind wandering? I mean, but the coach knows who has to start and who the team feels more confident in. I can only say that the one year we were down 2-0 when I was in Washington, and I went up to the players and I said, do you think we can play this guy? And they all agreed, because they didn't have the faith in the other guy. So, I mean, I think they're going to talk to some players, and if it's a 50-50 chance, who they think they would rather start, and go with that, at least take their voice into consideration, because both goalies for the most part in Minnesota have been great all year, and I would feel confident with either one going in, because it's a different season. Those other 6 games really didn't mean a lot, but you certainly hope that trend doesn't continue to happen. If he does start, I think he would have a short leash.
Why, in the Stanley Cup playoffs, Bruce, why do lower seeds win so much? Like, the last 4 years, the lower seed has won 65% of playoff series.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, but I will tell you the answer to that. I'll tell you, is that sometimes the higher seed plays as good as it can all year long, and there's no room or very little room for improvement. The lower seed is capable of playing better, but they haven't. But come playoff time, they can play 10 to 20% better, and if the other side doesn't match that, then they're not going to win. I've always been a big believer you got to play at least 10% better each round, or you're not going to win the Stanley Cup. But if you're not, that's why President's Trophy teams very rarely win, is because they've played as good as they can all year long. But come playoff time, they still have to play better, and they can't get better because they've played as good as they can all season long. That's why I think the lower seeds have got more room to play better, and consequently, they win an awful lot of time, a lot of the times.
Hey, what do you think of the Vegas Golden Knights with Torts? I mean, they won their division. You got Tortorella leading them now. Can they make some noise?
Well, I mean, if this was the start of the season, everyone would have said Vegas is one of the better teams in the league. You look at their lineup. So yeah, they can make some noise. Whether it's with whether it was with Torts or Bruce, like, I think GMs make the changes at the right time. Like, I mean, and so and they want to benefit the coach. In this case, they made the change when they played Vancouver twice, Calgary, Seattle twice. So they're going to have success. But I mean, Torts gives a different voice, and it's obviously affected some of the players. Eichel has been playing much better. Marner's been playing much better. So I think they can win if they play up to their potential. Vegas is a very, very good team, and being in the Pacific Division, have totally the easiest route to the conference final.
Bruce, you're the best. We'll give you a call next week to chat more puck if you have some time. And please tell Crystal that I say hi.
I will, and I always have time for you, Mr. Paul Allen.
Thank you, Bruce Boudreau. Have a great day. Former Wild coach Bruce Boudreau. He coached 43 playoff games and about a quarter of them with the Minnesota Wild. And that begins the 9 to noon radio presentation on Wednesday. What's on deck, courtesy of TimberTech, and TimberTech.com goes, it's like football, basketball, hockey, football, basketball, hockey. We circumnavigate all that matters on the local pro sports scene, and we will do so around the corner with some football and Wild Card Wednesday. Nordo produces, and I'm Paul Allen. Good morning. Welcome to 9 to noon at FM 100.3 KFAN.
And
Wednesday, 9 to noon.
welcome back, 9 to noon, and it is indeed a Wild Card Wednesday. NFL Draft a week from mañana, a week from tomorrow. Looking forward to it. Vikings pick 18th overall. And maybe tomorrow we will dive into something more specific to the Minnesota Vikings. Maybe somebody we're thirsting for on a Thursday for a week from that particular day, Thursday night. Apparently there's a Wolves game that night too. So we got to figure out, hopefully the Vikings trade up. We can figure out who our pick is, and then we can settle in for hoops. At any rate, Wild Card Wednesday. I want to run this past you, PA. This could be stupid. You can tell me this is completely preposterous, and then we can just move on with our lives. But I saw this report via ESPN that the Raiders are taking calls on the number 1 overall pick. Mm-hmm. Now, any conversation that we've had in relation to the draft going back to the end of the college football season, really, and maybe even to the days and maybe weeks leading up to that, Fernando Mendoza, number 1 overall pick. He will go first overall. That has been assumed. We've all been resigned to that. And best of luck to the Indiana kid. But I saw this. We've gotten a few phone calls, according to GM John Spytek, and those teams know where they stand. If there's a player that stands out that we feel it's not worth losing, it's not worth even picking up the phone, then we'll just make the pick. But if it's a player that we're not as excited about, or there's a group of players that we would love to pick from and we can get value for that, we're certainly open to listening to that. So, we've never talked about the Raiders trading out. And again, this could be completely ridiculous. Fernando Mendoza is the top quarterback prospect in a class that lacks competition in terms of prospects at quarterback for the NFL draft.
Fair.
Alabama cat Ty Simpson, largely regarded as the QB2 in this particular draft. And I've seen, well, you can't waste a pick on Ty until Friday night. Or, well, you're going to have to get him in the mid-20s. I've seen the Jets linked to him in various mocks. I've seen the Steelers linked to him. You have to get them because naturally, by nature of the position, these quarterbacks are going to be pushed up the draft board regardless of their talent or stock because of the QB spot itself. With that said, so it's a
wild card.
We got Mendoza, and we have Ty Simpson. Well, I just took a peek at the 2027 quarterback class. Mm-hmm. Names like Arch Manning. Now, Arch Manning needs to build on this season. Tough start for the Cat, but we know about his IQ, his arm talent, and in the end, he ended the season quite well. Dante Moore from Oregon, top-tier prospect. Julian Sayin is the Ohio State Cat. I thought he was terrific this year. Trinidad Chambliss from Ole Miss. There's a Lenoris Sellers from South Carolina. And then a USC kid, Jaden, I think it's Maeva. So I just named 6 QBs that people are already looking forward to 2027 to see how they perform next fall. And potentially there's a massive class a year from now. So, pick 5. Pick 5 goes the way of the New York Giants. Mm-hmm. So you got a Harbaugh in charge. What did he do exceptionally well when he was a head coach for the Baltimore Ravens? He ran the ball. Now, they'll get Scatterboo back. I know that. But, man, they want Jeremiah Love. They want him so badly, PA, but he's not going to be there. They can't guarantee that Jeremiah Love is at pick 5 because you have the Titans in front of them. There could be other trades. There could be other moves. But, man, they need somebody with an explosive run game to help cultivate the development of Jackson Dart. They're going to get Malik Neighbors back. On defense, they did add Tremaine Edmonds from the Bears. They added a corner in Greg Newsome, but they still have Abdul Carter has a chance to be better in year 2. You have Brian Burns, who is really running that defense. Can we please just make Dexter Lawrence happy? That's what the Big Blue Wrecking Crew fan base is begging for. Can we get Dexter to put on a smile and keep wearing that blue? But that said, with pick 5, if they were to offer the Raiders, hey, you move back to 5. We're going to give you this year's second. We're going to give you next year's first and maybe another pick to sweeten the pot. The idea that Harbaugh, I need Jeremiah Love. And our former head coach and a team that I did not manage actually won a game late in the season that eliminated our prospects of being the top overall pick. We were winning while losing, and we shouldn't have. The idea that Harbaugh would move up to pick 1 because he knows he absolutely needs a running game that kills in the NFC, and that the Raiders, with a guarantee, I know we can get Mendoza. Nobody can jump us at 1. Or we get another pick for 2027 as ammunition in a much more loaded and higher equity-laden quarterback class, and we'll take our guy then. We'll roll with Kirk.
Yeah.
In 2026. With wild card.
With Genty and with Bowers. So you have a good starting spot. You have a quarterback who can get you 300 and change if you need it. The head coach and the veteran quarterback will mesh well together. And you will amass picks to fix a lot of holes, including on your offensive line and maybe some deep receivers if you like them. Now, if there is a rare trade up for the first overall pick in the draft, where I would cast my gaze is to those that have 2 picks in the first round.
Okay.
So the Jets have 2 and 16. Cleveland has 6 and 24. Dallas has 12 and 20. The Chiefs have 9 and 29. And the Dolphins have 11 and 30. Miami, the Chiefs, and Dallas maybe, but probably not. Those 3 ain't making that move. So Cleveland 6 and 24, possibly. Jets 2 and 16. That's tenable because you're just going up a spot, and you would have to identify him as somebody you absolutely love. Now I think they had 2 first-round picks last year, the Jets, and they took a couple of offensive players, and I mean they're very much works in progress. So I think the Jets are focusing on defense this year. I would put it 98%. There will be no trade for the first overall pick in the draft, and the Raiders will recognize they're in an enviable position if they love Mendoza, where they have a quarterback who can play now. They don't have to rush this guy, but moving up, see, like if the Giants move up to get Jeremiah Love at 1, okay. I mean that I'm not going to be mad at that a lick if they love him that much.
And I feel like he's the only player in this draft that maybe you do move up for, if that makes sense.
Well, see, now that would make life so easy for the New York Jets or maybe the Arizona Cardinals, 2 and 3, because Mendoza, well, they both need quarterbacks. And so therefore that would kind of fall into their laps. So I think it's a high percentage that none of this happens. But nevertheless, if there is a trade for the first overall pick in the draft, I would wager a team with 2 first-round picks would be the one doing it.
Yeah, I like that. And you're right. I don't think it happens, but that's frustrating to me. It's just been, hey, Raiders, and it's Mendoza. Is he already looking for houses somewhere in the 702? Maybe Windjam can help him out with that. It's a Wild Card Wednesday, 9 to noon.
Time for a Wild Card Wednesday, 9 to noon.
This is more quick twitch than anything, and then we got JimPete right around the corner. Awesome conversation that you had with him, and we'll hear it next segment. But Ruben Bain, this news coming out about him being cited for reckless driving in a 2024 accident, and sadly, a passenger in that car was in a coma. A young woman for, I think, months, and died because of the injuries sustained in the crash. It's just awful news. But and he was cited, for careless driving. And in the end, it says that charges were dropped prior to Miss Betts' death, according to this report here. No field sobriety tests were given, etc. So it's just ugly. But teams had to know about that prior to this more recent report where now we all know about it, right? From an intel standpoint, from a draft stock, post-combine, whatever's going on, Ruben Bain ripping it up at Miami. But teams aren't just learning about that the way we are, right?
No, well, absolutely not. I mean, there will be some that were not interested in drafting him, or they didn't think they could get to the spot to get Bain, so they may not have done deep diving like that. But that was 2024. You said, right?
Yeah, because it just doesn't feel like like Laramie Tunsil in the gas mask.
That's two combines. So I mean, that's shocking that this has just emerged.
Yeah.
So, wow. I mean, I'd definitely get into the weeds there to figure out how people, or how Ruben or his representation or whatever were able to keep that as quiet as long as they did. But with the Monday mock revision, which is coming up later at like 11:25, Bain he's dropping for me, but not that far, down to 7 with the Washington Commanders. But now, the way you laid that out, I'm astounded this is the first we've heard of this.
Well, and that feels like draft subterfuge, right? But again, most teams know about it, so is there a perception angle where teams knew about this, maybe under the covers, they got the answers they required that they liked or did not like, and so they've already made a decision, but now there's maybe a public pressure given the awful nature of the incident, the accident itself, and I just... The draft subterfuge coming out, it's just, I don't think anybody on the inside surprised by it.
Yeah.
But I wonder if a team's like, ooh, now that people actually are reading about this and it's heavy, maybe we don't take him at 3 or 4. Maybe he does drop to 7 or 8.
Like if I'm spearfish for a team and I'm chatting with the head coach and the general manager, and this hasn't gone public yet, but it's bubbling, it's percolating. One of the first questions or reminders that will be presented will be, okay, well, when we take this guy in the first round, there's going to be a press conference, and we're putting him in front of the media, which is subsequently putting him in front of the public. So, he's going to get pressed on the questions. They will craft the answer, and hopefully it's complicit and it's with complete honesty and authenticity. But there are teams that just don't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
So I'd have to look more into what went into it, but I think you laid it out beautifully. And like you said, there was no field sobriety test. That's just, we're just conditioned to think when things like this happen, there will be at least that.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to scare teams away. Bain Jr., for my taste, as I've said before, there are a handful of players in this draft that I think are cinches to have a chance to become stars in the NFL, and he's one of them. But I don't think he'll go much past 7.
That's a Wild Card Wednesday, week from tomorrow, the NFL draft, and well, sooner than that, Saturday 2:30 p.m. We got ourselves Wolves and Nuggets, PA.
Can't wait. Jim Petersen, the great Jim Petersen, calls games with Grady and Horton for FanDuel. Jim played in the NBA championship back in the 85-86 season for the Rockets. He lays out some wonderful, wonderful scenarios for the Wolves to beat the Nuggets, and some things about which we may need to worry with the Nuggets against the Timberwolves. And that's next, 9 to noon. Welcome back to the 9 to noon presentation. The Wolves and Nuggets game 1 Saturday is at 2:30, and a longtime friend of this radio shows, and yours truly, Jim Petersen, joins us now. He's quite familiar with the postseason, for Jim played in 46 playoff games, including the NBA Finals with Houston after the 85-86 season, and he joins us now. Big Pete, I've never asked you this. What was it like playing against Larry Bird?
Well, I mean, I get a kick out of listening to people talk and that are discovering him, like, because, he hasn't played for 40 years. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, it's been a long time. And if you would have told me back when I was playing in the NBA that, I'd be talking about somebody relevant 40 years previously to when I played, like, right. I played in the 86 finals. If someone was talking to me about somebody that played in 1946, I'd be like, get out of here. Like, right. I am not entertaining any player that played back then in today's game. But Larry Bird would be insanely good. He's you can't tell me that Kevin McHale couldn't play in this era. Keem Olajuwon would be fantastic. Like, these guys would be so good. The game was different back then, for sure, because of the spacing and all of that. But Larry would have been the greatest three-point shooter. He would have been Luka Doncic, in terms of the way he shoots it. And Larry would have probably we would have had all these incredible highlights. And we still do from Larry Bird. He didn't shoot the three much, PA, but he was so big. As big as Doncic is, Larry's my size. Larry was 6'9", 6'10". And so he had great size. His competitiveness was unmatched. He was a killer. And so incredibly skilled. So it was a real trip. Like, it was interesting for me when I first came in the league. One of my first exhibition games was against the Celtics up in Worcester, Mass. We played in this whatever arena it was up in Worcester, and Parrish is huge. Parrish is 7'1", 7'2". McHale's 6'11". Bird 6'9", 6'10". Danny Ainge was big. DJ was big. Like, it just was. You can't believe the size of the players back in that era. The Lakers were the same way with Kareem at 7'2". I mean, James Worthy was 6'9". Rambis was 6'10". Magic 6'10". You just don't see that kind of size in the league right now. And, it was definitely a different game back in those days.
Well, you definitely see that size with Nikola Jokic. And he's a center only in size, right? Is Joker the best playmaking center in the history of the NBA?
No doubt.
Right.
Yeah, they used to talk about Bill Walton a lot, and Bill Walton certainly was, but the way that Jokic plays to the top of the floor, he is the hub of the offense, and there's a lot more centers playing that way now. There's centers have become a top of the floor facilitator, and teams have run offensive actions in the secondary break that utilize that pass through the center in the middle of the floor, and the center can go back to the same side, or they can go to the other side of the floor, and all those dribble handoffs that teams run. And Jokic has really kind of revolutionized that. And then his ability to shoot three and all the two-man game stuff that he and Jamal Murray have, like, it's just so singularly unique. And Domantas Sabonis has become like that, the way that Sabonis plays in Sacramento. His dad, Arvydas, obviously influenced his game with his ability to shoot it and handle it and all that. And then Şengün is up there at the top of the floor. There's just a bunch of guys now that facilitate, but Jokic is the best to ever do it.
Now, Jim, yesterday 9 to noon, the respected voice of Dane Moore called Rudy Gobert the best drop coverage center in NBA history. Please define drop coverage and what makes Gobert so good at it.
Well, you don't want to get raced to the rim a lot of time in ball screen action, so he just... drop coverage, like, you can play a lot of different ways, right? So you can be up at the level of the screen. And so if the ball screen is happening, if Julius Randle or whatever, if Rudy's setting a screen at the top of the screen for Anthony Edwards, like, Jokic could be up at the level of the screen, or he could be, maybe just like a high wall where you can get out and even redirect Ant. If Ant comes off the screen, he would be there physically redirecting him, high walling him away off of his line. Or you could be dropped back and protecting, because the reason why you play drop coverage is because you want to be able to do two things at once. You want to be able to control the ball handler, keeping them from the rim, and you also want to stop the roller from getting behind you that you're going for lob dunks. And so Rudy Gobert has mastered and is one of the greatest ever because he's got good instincts, he's got great size, and he's just got tremendous length. So Rudy is a master at being able to do two things: contain the ball handler and then not let the roller get behind him. The problem is that when you're playing against pick and pop bigs, and so if you're in a drop, or if you're playing against players that are really good shooting off of screens, and so this is where the problem with drop coverage is, because if Rudy's dropped back protecting the paint and the rim, if Jamal Murray comes off a high ball screen and he's hot, and this is the greatest season of Jamal Murray's career, by the way. He's playing. I mean, almost every metric of his has been a career. Whether it's been points, field goal percentage, free throw attempts, like everything that Jamal Murray's doing right now is at a super high level. And when he comes off those ball screens, if you're dropped back, it's a problem. You know what I mean? So, yes, he's probably the greatest drop coverage player. There's been a few of them, but he's kind of mastered what he does. Now, he's gotten better. This is one thing that Chris Finch kind of made him do when he first came here, because I think Rudy had the sensibility, because the whole Utah Jazz ecosystem was built around Rudy Gobert. Everything they did, everything Quinn Snyder did with the Utah Jazz centered around Rudy Gobert and his defensive greatness. And so Rudy wanted to kind of play what he was used to. And Finch is like, we're not going to do that. Like, yes, we're going to accentuate what you do well, Rudy. But Finch said, you've got to sort of get along with the program of what we do. I am not Quinn Snyder. This is not the Utah Jazz. And they have also gotten Rudy to do some of the things. Now, will he get up there as far as they really want him to, game plan-wise, game in and game out? Rudy still kind of does his own thing a little bit. He kind of doesn't want to be embarrassed, or he doesn't want to, be able to play where he's comfortable. But Rudy's done a great job of getting out there. Like the whole idea of Rudy not being a good isolation one-on-one defender on the perimeter against mismatches is not true. He is tremendous. And that's one area of growth. I think that Chris Finch and his coaching staff have done a great job of getting Rudy to sort of get with the program and do two things. Like, okay, we're going to accentuate what you did in Utah and utilize that, and then also you're going to get on the program with us.
That was a comprehensively elite basketball mind response. Thank you very much, JimPete. This is the familiar voice of Jim Petersen with the Wolves and Nuggets, set to go on Saturday. Now, for the Nuggets, if Christian Brown gets Anthony most of the game, Like, how do we turn that into free money? And I know Brown's scrappy, for sure, all right? But seriously, over the totality of a game in a series, he should be no match for Anthony Edwards. Know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I don't disrespect any of those dudes. I mean, Bruce Brown is an excellent defender. Christian Brown is also someone that gives you a lot of toughness. I think that the thing that we've got to figure out is where Ant is health-wise. One thing I know about our training staff is they're going to get these guys game ready, and Ant actually, just missing the games that he missed 11 of the last 14 games or whatever it was. So we had the fewest games lost to injury of the season. We only lost 89 man games to injury, which is just, to be under 100 is just absolutely ridiculous. But the timing of the ones that we did miss was not great. To not have Jaden and not have Ant at the end, to kind of synchronize with Ayo Dosunmu as much as we have. It's not great timing to see where Ant is at in terms of the synchronicity with the rest of the team and all of that. So, no, Anthony Edwards has destroyed the Denver Nuggets. He's had incredible series against the Denver Nuggets. He's had amazing regular season success against the Denver Nuggets. And they know how important he is, so they're going to put a lot of pressure on him for sure.
Jim, do you think Terrence Shannon Jr. did enough to warrant some playoff game minutes?
It's a great question. It's a great question. I just think that coaches don't play long rotations in the playoffs,
right.
And it's just so amazing how far. This is a testament to Tim Connolly and his staff and the front office, the job that they've done to patch up, which was a huge detriment to our team, which was the bench. Because there was a long stretch here, the first part of the season, first half of the season or so, even longer than that, until the trade deadline when Minnesota got Ayo Dosunmu. It was just basically Naz Reid coming off the bench. Mike wasn't playing optimally. Rob Dillingham didn't really ever get into the mix. Terrence Shannon, when he got an opportunity, didn't play great, and then he had the foot injury. And basically, if Naz didn't play well, it was hard for Minnesota to win because we didn't get a lot of production off the bench. But when you look at it now, I mean, how differently do you feel about Terrence Shannon Jr. than you did a month and a half ago?
Right.
It's a 180. Yohan never really got, into the mix. So we just didn't have a lot of depth. But now when you look at it, getting Kyle into the mix, making the trade for Ayo Dosunmu, the job that Chris Finch has done, getting confidence and breathing life into Bones Highland, and Bones Highland becomes, a pretty incredible performer for your team too. So confident, and the pace that he plays with, the 3-point shooting has become invaluable, especially without Ant. Think about the way Bones shot the ball, PA. I mean, so confidently. And when Ant was out, it was Bones that was the one that was knocking down shots to give Minnesota a chance to win. Same thing with Ayo. So this might be the deepest team the Timberwolves have ever had. I'm just trying to think of another time where you could bring off the bench a player like Ayo Dosunmu, Naz Reid, Kyle Anderson. Mike can still give it to you. Bones is gonna give you. See, I just named 10 players right there. And so then, how do you get to Terrence Shannon Jr.? I mean, and then also you're going to get spot duty from Jalen Clark situationally. I mean, defensively, he's going to come in and, Finch did it in Boston with Jalen Clark. Jalen Clark had no idea he was going to play in Boston when Minnesota won that game when Ant didn't play. He just threw Jalen Clark in the game, and Jalen Clark came and beat up, Jaylen Brown and did a great job against Jason Tatum, disruptive. So I don't know. And when I'm talking about 11, 12 players, including Jalen Clark and Terrence Shannon Jr., it's going to be interesting to see. Chris Finch is going to have a lot of tools at his disposal during the course of this series.
So Finchie recently said, in fact, he said at 9 to noon, that Denver plays some zone, and at times it's a lot of zone defense. Are we a good team against a zone defense?
We're better now that we have Kyle.
Yeah.
Kyle back into the mix. He's really been a good at the hub of the zone in the middle. I think that we have enough shooting. Jaden's a completely different player now. Jaden McDaniels, he's his 3-point shooting. Dante DiVincenzo is obviously an excellent 3-point shooter. Ayo Dosunmu is really good because he does a great job of not only just shooting the 3, but also being able to break the paint in a zone situation. One of the things you've got to do is if you've got to be able to put the ball on the floor and collapse the zone with the dribble. And then also, you've got Gobert and Julius Randle setting screens and moving into advantageous positions too. So we operated against the zone pretty well. We didn't let it bog us down as much as it has in years past. So I think that we are a team that we just can't get stagnant with the basketball. We can't have Ant over dribbling the ball, and that was one of the problems. And that can play into some problems if the ball gets sticky against the zone. You got to move it, you got to skip pass, you got to screen it, you got to drive it. So I think that Chris Finch is covering all this. This is the big thing with Finchie, though. And by the way, he's the longest tenured playoff coach. He's got now 5 years in a row. And so Minnesota has the third longest playoff streak now that Miami lost last night because Spoelstra, they were 3. Minnesota's 3 now.
Wow.
Boston has 12 in a row. Denver has 8 in a row. Minnesota now has 5 in a row. But David Adelman, this is his first year coaching, and Joe Mazzulla, this is his 4th year in Milwaukee. So Minnesota has the 3rd longest playoff streak. Chris Finch is the longest tenured coach in the playoffs right now, so in the NBA. So that speaks to, you don't do all that unless you have great instincts in playoff prep. And so Chris Finch, he does a great job of prepping his guys for the playoffs. They're going to cover all that stuff, I'm sure.
Man, I'm so with you on that. And put Mike Nori and Pablo Prigioni and Elston Turner, and the staff is so smart. And when they got some extra time to get ready for you, they've proven they do quite well. Now you
100%.
Jim, you mentioned the name David Adelman, and he was an assistant here. He used to come on the radio show all the time. Man, we loved having him, specifically with his old school basketball knowledge. Of course, you remember him when he was here. He's a very, very smart basketball mind, isn't he?
He learned from one of the best to ever do it.
Yep.
I mean, his dad was pretty good. His dad, is a Hall of Famer, and was very innovative with his corner offense, and it's a lot like the triangle, except in Tex, won a lot of games with the Chicago Bulls and LA Lakers running the triangle. And so Rick Adelman took the triangle and kind of tweaked it a little bit and made it his own, and made it a different offensive ecosystem. And and David sat there and watched his dad do all of that. And David, picked up a lot of, I want to say offensive nuance, but he's defensively, he's really solid too. This is a really good offensive team. They are a juggernaut. And so, he sat there with Michael Malone and, learned what Michael did. And when you're sitting there as an assistant coach, PA, you're always preparing for being the head coach, because you just never know if the head coach is going to miss a game, get suspended, get an illness, and all of a sudden now you've got to be able to take the whiteboard and be able to do it. So you're always preparing yourself, and even when you're watching video, storing away ideas that you're going to implement when you become the head coach. And David Adelman was ready for this position. That's why he got the job. The players were all behind him. They know. The players know how good David Adelman was, and so it's just amazing how seamless it's been between Malone to Adelman, and it's all because David Adelman knows his stuff.
Man, you come to talk about some drop coverage and Jamal Murray and Bruce Brown, and you get a Tex Winter reference. I mean, that right there is basketball immortality. All right, a few to close here for the great JimPete. Does Denver need to be wary of Bones and Ayo in the game together, and high in speed, specifically off misses and turnovers? In that win out there a month and a half ago, the Nuggets were chasing after the wind when those guys were in the game.
I just think it's so important in playoff basketball. If you can get easy baskets, it's just because it gets to be such a half-court grind, and you certainly don't want to be stuck in those kind of battles. The more you can run and get out, as long as you don't turn it over a bunch, and that's something that Minnesota's fought, PA. It's been, oh my gosh, it's been between the rebounding issues and the turnover issues and the second chance points and the points off turnovers. It's been a maddening thing, and it's one of the reasons why Minnesota's been so up and down, is that their inability to consistently defensive rebound the basketball at a high rate and also not turn it over. So, yes, you want to play fast. You want Bones and Ayo to get out and do their thing, and boy, when they do, it's just really fun to watch. And then if you can get Anthony Edwards out there running with them, it's going to be interesting to see. I just think we don't know. We did not get into a rhythm with those three guys like we could have had Ant not been hurt. And so I just think that's one of the things that they're working on this week, is they're working on getting into a rhythm and being able to, play fast without turning it over. It's such an important piece of this series against Denver.
Amen. Last one, and speaking of turnovers, Anthony, it feels from afar, Jim, and you know more about it than me and us. Anthony and Julius's passing this series, I mean, that feels like such a major key, because specifically Anthony, he just got caught in no man's land so much this year, where he'd leave his feet, he'd throw the ball, and it'd be a turnover. So Anthony and Julius passing, I mean, that That's key, right? Because they're both good at it.
Yeah, not to sit there and play in isolation, hold the ball a bunch. Julius is best when he's triple-double Julius, when he's more concerned about, instead of pounding the basketball, spraying it out to Dante or to Jade McDaniels, three-point shooters, dishing it to Rudy. Getting Rudy involved is also a big focus too for Minnesota, because Rudy's just a different player when they involve him offensively. So yeah, I mean, PA, we know that. We know that Ant and Julius have to move the basketball, because when Ant was down, it's one of the things that when Minnesota was winning games, the ball movement was just so good. So no, they're aware of all of it. They're working on all of it. They're emphasizing all of it. And, this is the great time of the year right now when you get to get these matchups. And it would have been just as fun playing against the Lakers, but Denver is a big-time rival. So are you coming to a game? Are you going to be in Denver? I mean, your daughter's in Denver?
Yes, hopefully. That's the hope. We got the NFL draft. We got the Wild in the postseason. Just where the games fall is a little tricky right now. But enough about me. When you said this is such a wonderful time of the year, I would be remiss to not amplify that for you, because you're going to be calling these Wolves games against the Nuggets, and they're going to be good. Your son, Sanjay, is an assistant with the Atlanta Hawks, and they're in the playoffs taking on Cat and the New York Knicks. So your wife, Tika, his mom, I mean, she's probably going to be in Madison Square Garden, right?
Well, I mean, that's the thing now, is that, it used to be there was not a lot of competition for, whether my wife was going to watch the Wolves or watch something else. And so it was, I knew she was always going to be with me during the playoffs. But now that Atlanta's in the mix here again, and yes, I think she's going to spend game one in Madison Square Garden, which, how can you not? It's your baby boy that's in the playoffs. So, so it's going to be, but she's going to be a jet setter, PA. She's going to come to Denver for game 2, go back to Minneapolis for game 3, go to Atlanta for game 4.
Wow.
So, yeah, it'll be a whirlwind for her.
Yeah, we better stop this thing, man, or we're going to start going down the road of Randy Whitman, Doc Rivers, Tree Rollins, and Kevin Willis, and that'll probably take about 10 minutes. Oh, Dominique Wilkins, too. Hey, man, God bless you and your family. Greatly appreciate the elongated interview with your wonderful takes. Safe travels, and maybe we'll catch up next week, okay?
Thanks, Paul.
The great JimPete to the Wild from the Dallas perspective next.